like that was a legitimate mystery that oftentimes was never solved. And you never had to suffer through that.
Brent, did you get a haircut?
Oh, so I knew you were going to do that.
Did you?
No. I didn't. I got them all cut. No.
Jamaica?
They all got cut.
They all got cut.
Not just
Funny
one.
guy.
Yeah.
I love it. That's actually a really good one. My mom's going to like that one.
I hope so.
Dude, you sent me away the end of last week's episode. I was listening to, we had been through a couple, we went through David Bowie and Alice Cooper. And then we led into like Black Crowes here, which is where we are today. And, boy, I'm so glad you told me to listen to this album next, because
it was a cliffhanger. I'm like, does he hate this?
Oh man, I needed this. I needed an album like this to it's like a good rebound.
Good.
This was like, so
you've rebounded.
Well, you've rebounded, not me. You've done the job in finding me, like a good match. It's like I broke up. I've dated a few real scummies, and now here we are.
So this is, and we've talked about this before. Like I don't. It's great when you like an album that I bring in.
Yeah.
But it's not bad when you don't like it.
No,
because this is just this kind of like very broad education, right? So there will be records that you're going to say, I don't get it, or I think it sucks, and I think it's, you just don't get it, and that's great. So some of these records, like I mean, I like all of them, but I don't love them. But I think it's necessary that you hear them.
I think it's completely necessary that I hear them.
Yeah.
And I've genuinely appreciated everything we've listened to. But in terms of like enjoyability, look, Ziggy was good. Look, really good. I really liked Ziggy Stardust. There's some really good tunes on there.
Right.
But like I was just dying for a rock and roll record.
Good.
Like Shake Your Money Maker by the Black Crowes, and he delivered. Here it is.
So
here we go. So
one of my very close friends that I met more than 20 years ago, one of the very first things he said to me, I was at a party and he was also at this party, and this record came on, Shake Your Money Maker. I'll never forget this. One of the very first things he ever said to me, I didn't know the guy at all. He said, there isn't a bad song on this whole record. It's true. There's not a bad song on this record. You think there is?
I don't know.
Let's
get into them.
Let's see.
Let's see, Mr. Jensen.
Twice as hard. Kicks off the record. How about that?
So good, man. Like, oh my goodness, so good. Like, I listened to this album probably every day since he gave it to me.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So yeah, 7.
Good.
It's been played a good 7, 8, maybe 9 times between this Thursday and last. So
good.
Yeah, love it, man. It made me feel good. It made me miss the bar scene. Like, it's just everything about the music that these guys were playing really just made me feel like super nostalgic and like wanting to be at a bar for live music
or a Crowes show. Incredible live band, by the way.
Nice.
Yeah,
I believe it. I was just talking to a buddy of mine today. Actually, he said he was at a Crowes show a while back.
Yeah,
and said it was just phenomenal.
I saw them at Massey Hall. They were amazing. They're a jam band, so they're they'll go on. It's like I've said before about them. They kind of don't know the crowd is there most of the time. They're playing for themselves. Not in a bad kind of Grateful Dead way, but in a very interesting way. And they've jammed on, like Jealous Again. Like goes on and on and on. But it's cool. They add like little kind of nuances and stuff like that. And they're all super talented guys. So great live band.
They'd be awesome to see. What are your thoughts on Twice as Hard as a kickoff?
Love. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think about that guitar and I think about the tone, and you play guitar too. And for them to have a tone that is that, as soon as I heard that, I remember this came out in 1990. I heard this and I thought, oh, like right away, I hear it, do, 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 right away, right? Just based on that tone. And that's one thing that I wanted to say about this record. And I didn't know when I was going to say it, but I'll say it now, is that a lot of bands tried to pull off this thing. There's a lot of comparisons to the Rolling Stones and Aerosmith and Faces. A lot of bands in the 80s were trying to pull this off, and they failed miserably. It was jokey, silly stuff. This was a band that didn't try. They had that thing in them. They had the Stones in them. They had the Faces in them. They had the Allman Brothers in them. It's real. It's legit.
Yeah, Twice as Hard, great opener, and then Jealous Again being what I guess that was their lead single, which is just, my God, what an awesome track.
Was it? I thought the first single was hard to handle, and the reason why I wanted to say that is because like that was the first tune I heard from this record, and I heard it on the radio, and I thought, who is this band? But we'll get to that in a second. But Jealous Again. How about a 1-2? We talk about 1-2s, like to kick off records.
Amazing 1-2. And I sent you, I didn't know if you'd heard the Jealous Again acoustic version, but that's also part of the deluxe edition. But when I got to that as well in this, I was like, oh my God, what just a phenomenal acoustic song. Yeah. And look, I know we're not talking about the deluxe edition, but I wanted to bring this up because with that version, you get obviously it's the acoustic. It's kind of like this deluxe edition is sort of pieces that were recorded, but obviously they came across and wanted to put out. So these are like studio cuts and like things where they were just like the initial like breeding ground for the song, and the hand claps and the stomps in the acoustic version. You're like, there's so much that when listening to that really connected me more to the song just in general, because then you go back and you listen to it full fledged and you're like amazing how they created that. Yeah.
And not hiding behind any trickery of any kind. Like it's not
right.
A lot of these bands, going back to that, this is important about the Black Crowes, because there was a band called the London Choir Boys, if you've heard of them, later the Choir Boys. And they came pretty close. They released an album called A Bit of What You Fancy. I think it was called in 1990, same year this came out. They were English, but they were Faces. Do you know about Faces? You wouldn't know about Faces, I don't think.
Oh, Rod Stewart, Ronnie Wood.
Yes.
That's as much as I know. Ooh La La. That's sort of like my education on them.
Yes. So big record for guys like this. Okay. But that record by the Choir Boys was a big kind of Faces ripoff. Like a lot of the tunes it just didn't, I mean, they had a couple of good songs, but the record was not good. And you kind of went away thinking it's just kind of like, it's rip-off stuff, right? But with the Crowes, you hear this initial record, but then you hear all these acoustic versions, and you hear them play live, and you can feel it. They're organic, authentic, real deal musicians, and it's just pure stuff.
Man, listening to this, I'm like, I want to start a Black Crowes cover band, or I want to find one and I want to sing as part of the cover band.
What's really funny about that is that there's not many. There's not, you saying that, there's a lot of Zeppelin covers. There's a lot of cover bands. I don't know that I've ever heard of Black Crowes cover band.
Oh, interesting. I mean, they got to be out there, but I mean, if they're not around Southern Ontario, sounds like it's about time for a mission, folks. All right, okay. This is by the way, like
what instrument are you going to play in the Black Crowes cover band?
Oh no, I'm going to sing. That's what I said. I'm going to sing.
Are you going to be a singer?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Here's the thing I love about this album.
Can you sing a little bit for me? Sing a little twice as hard.
No, I'm having.
It's like right in your key too. It's right in your register.
I can't. Yeah, twice as hard. No, you know what I sing? Oh man, Stare It Cold. But we'll get there.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Stare It Cold.
All right. Close the record.
No, here's what I love about everything about. Sorry, Chris Robinson's the singer, right?
Yes.
Okay, so he's good. He's really good, but this is the first album and you can tell, and that's what I love about it. Like, there are albums and there's singles from people and there's songs where it's like, the recording's not great, and I'm okay with not great recordings, right? I love Exile on Main Street. I'm okay with not great recordings, but the person you gotta be really good. If you're not gonna record great, you gotta be good. So that way the not great recording is like a beautiful part about it. It doesn't have to be a great recording because these people sound friggin' amazing.
Agree.
You know, like with singing it. And so I feel like overall recording of this album is good, but like it's a first album and you can tell, but like there's something raw about Chris Robinson's voice and I don't know, maybe that's how it is for the rest of their albums, but there's just something so like real about the way that he sings these songs that like totally connected me as well. 'Cause it's not perfect. No. And that's why I'm like, I could sing these songs. I can't, but I like totally, like, you just feel like I want to get to a show and sing these with him because it feels at least like he's on a level, like is a real level. It's not a Robert Plant singing level where you can't go and sing along with him. Right.
That's a good point. I think that Robinson's major strength, his biggest strength is soulfulness.
Yes.
Right.
Oh yeah. Because I feel like it gets strained throughout the album. And I'm not saying that they just sung these back to back to back to back, but I also feel like there's a bit of like, as the album goes along, just feels like he's, I don't know, tired, or like you could feel like he's starting to push a little bit more. I don't know, but it doesn't come across as bad. It doesn't come across as weak. It just kind of starts coming across as more like, we're getting through our first album. I've never done this before. This is sort of like the exertion I'm feeling. My take.
I think there was, I'm thinking about that book that Steve Gorman wrote and what it was like to record that first record. And he goes through like brilliantly, like what it was like, all their experiences, what their feelings were in doing it, stuff like that. And Robinson was a bit of a rookie, but he, I don't know. He had a feeling, right? And he carried it. And you know what? When you hear that, I actually enjoy that. I like hearing that.
I just loved his performance throughout so many of the songs. And hey, look, maybe I'm completely wrong, like about how it was, but this is the feeling I got. But like, there's definitely soul throughout this whole thing. And especially in like songs like Sister Luck and Seeing Things, those are great. I mean, it's everything, but when those songs sort of slow down, and of course She Talks to Angels, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. So Sister Luck. Brilliant song. So again, perfectly placed. It's the third song, right? Number 3. And
what's funny about that? We always talk about sequencing. Is it a single? I don't know. It was not a single. It wasn't. There were 5 songs that were released as singles before this one, I do believe. But track number 3, right? That's usually the showcase position, but I'm glad it was, because this song, I think, is perfectly placed. It's brilliant. One of my favorite songs on the record.
Totally. I mean, like you said, we get into the 1-2. This kind of is like, it doesn't completely slow things down, but it's like, it's a nice pace to get it before it gets into Could I've Been So Blind, which again is another big, awesome rock song.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, also good. Like, I mean, like they're going from strength to strength here, really, right?
It really is, man. Like, okay, I don't want to take this back again a little bit. So this came out in 1990.
Yes.
Recorded in 89, came out in 90. What is your connection with this album? Like, I know you kind of mentioned your buddy introduced it to you, but like, at what point was that? And like, what did that mean for you for like the rest of your musical experience?
Oh, I remember specifically. So I was 21 when this came out. and I was in my third year of university. And so this quickly became like Hard to Handle was quickly an anthem, right? It was, I don't know if people recognize the real power of this at the time, because like I said, these bands like Choir Boys and all those bullshit hair bands were trying to do this and failing and stuff before this record came out. So people were just kind of standing back and folding their arms and saying, are these guys for real? I kind of feel like they are, but I'm not sure. So let's see. Let's just see. And Hard to Handle came out. And then I think Jealous Again came out. Twice as Hard came out. She Talks to Angels was like, okay, yes, this is the real deal, right? So, and I was the same. I was like, fuck, this is a great band. This is not just a good band. This is a classic band. This was one of the last really great bands. And I will say that these guys were probably one of the, if not most underrated bands in the last 25, 30 years.
Have to be. The fact that I don't know anything other than, or didn't know anything other than Hard to Handle before this, listening to this, I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. I'm like, I don't know what I've been doing with, like, I thought listening to like Zeppelin and not Mystic. I'm like, oh, jeez, like at least I'd heard some Zeppelin, but like the fact I've never heard these guys outside of that song is like, what the F? So
this is interesting for you, right? So, and your perspective versus my perspective because of age. So Zeppelin, Aerosmith, Faces, Stones, all occurring, around a similar time before my time. And so my kind of like entry point into music, I was around 14, 15, was hair stuff, right? Bands that were replicating this. So I thought, the real stuff is Aerosmith. The real stuff is, and then I was a little bit confused, to be very honest, when the Black Crowes came out, because I thought, wow, they can do it too. Like they can actually do it. They can't just ape it or copy it. They're doing it. So what does that mean? And I remember thinking like, whoa. So for you, it's completely different. So you see all these bands and then you kind of, based on what we've done on the show so far, you understand what's happening in, late 60s, 70s. And then there's this kind of dip, right? Mm-hmm. And then now you see this thing happening again.
Yeah.
It looks completely different for you.
Yeah. Well, I feel like because you'd sort of been like, you kind of doubted maybe, I don't know how it was going to be. Mm-hmm. Like maybe that's what it was. Maybe when they came out, it was people kind of like wrote them off a little bit like, there's just going to be another one of these, or didn't take them too seriously when they should have. The
other thing too is that they came out and music was kind of a machine. There was a commercial machine that was feeding music to you at this time. But then when Zeppelin and the Stones and the Faces were around, the machine wasn't really as prevalent, right?
Right.
So what I was experiencing was through this machine. So that was different too. So, I kind of was experiencing it in a different way. And I was less likely to believe that it had the kind of genuineness or purity of a Zeppelin or a Faces. I thought maybe it was just this generation's kind of offering that I should believe, and that leads back to my statement where people just kind of stood back and said, are you really as good as Led Zeppelin? Or,
right.
You know what I mean?
It's also interesting, 90s, right? Early, like it's the 90s. Again, new decade. We talked about this with Heart, new decade. How's that going to be approached? There's, what? I get a little feel like there's no real grunge, but there's some grunge feel in a little bit of this, which made me feel like there was some, like, I don't know. It kind of worked with the decade, but at the same time, we know what the 90s ended up being. Maybe that's why they were lost as well, a little bit. It's, for me, anyways.
See, that's a very salient point on your part, and here's why. When you say grunge, initially, my first reaction was, there's no grunge. But grunge is kind of almost a way of life to some people.
Right.
And the Black Crowes were grunge in that sense because they were very much not hair bands and all the stuff that was popular leading up to 1990. So while they weren't a Soundgarden or a Nirvana, they were alternative to what was happening.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some pieces actually in Sister Luck where there's a little bit. It feels like just some grunge chords. Like it feels like it was part of that decade. So I don't know if that was part of it. It was just getting lost. So I don't know.
But see, that's what I mean about perspective, right? So you see it that way because of who you are and where your age and how you came up. Your perspective is completely different than mine, and that's what's fascinating. And again, this is what's fascinating for me in doing this show. It's almost like a scientific study
on my brain,
on you,
the millennial. Could have been so blind.
So good.
I mean, so good. Like good, great, seeing things, so good, hard to handle, so good, great. Okay, wrap it up. Right. So
well, it's true. I mean, so notably. You skip to Hard to Handle. It's a cover. A lot of people don't know it's a cover. It's
Hard to Handle is?
Yeah. It's an Otis Redding cover, as a matter of fact.
So maybe that's who I heard. Maybe I've never heard the Black Crowes before.
Maybe not.
It's possible. No, you heard them at weddings. That's where I would hear this song, at weddings.
Now, the first time I heard Led Zeppelin, I referenced this in a previous episode. I was in a car and I heard Kashmir. It was 1983. And I heard it on the radio. I was in Newfoundland, as a matter of fact.
Oh, yeah.
And I heard Kashmir and I thought, like, what is that? But I was more confused than anything. And I just kind of dismissed it and let it go and was like, I think I like it, but I don't know. I don't know how to find it. And hopefully maybe I'll come across it when I'm older.
Did you go to Apple Music or Spotify or no? You should just open up your smart device and just searched it on your streaming service, Brent. But
it was so difficult to live back then, but it was so easy at the same time.
Did you Shazam it? You didn't Shazam Kashmir?
Yeah, right. Guys are so spoiled. They're spoiled.
I guess we
had to suffer through. I remember going on a vacation when I was probably about 11 or 12. And my parents loaded up the station wagon and we went down to Florida, right, for the summer vacation. Nice. And so you hear the radio all day. You're driving all day. Yeah. And so I heard this song by the Greg Kihn Band called The Breakup Song. I did not know who Greg Kihn was. I did not know it was Greg Kihn. I didn't know it was called The Breakup Song. I just heard the song and I heard it again. I'm like, wow, like, what is that? Who is it? And I didn't know. And I never did find out until like 6 months later, just by happenstance, somebody, played it on whatever. Wow. But that was a legitimate mystery that oftentimes was never solved. And you never had to suffer through that.
I did. No, don't get me wrong. I did. Okay. I lived through I was a human being with perception I was paying attention to things. I can remember things back to from 95. I was 5.
Yeah.
Okay. So 95. Think about that. Okay. So, all right. So I didn't have things. No. I had CD players. All right. I made mixed CDs. I didn't do the tapes. I wasn't into the mixed tapes. I wasn't that kind of a kid. But the CDs, like I would hear things on the radio and I'd have to be like, what was that? And hope that it came on again. So no, I was in the same boat.
Really?
I played outside when I was a kid. All right. Without a phone. I got my first phone when I was 16. Okay. And it was a flip phone. All right. I had Snake and that was about it.
Spoiled.
Fine. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Seeing Things, beautiful, beautiful tune.
Yes. Yeah, that is one of my favorites too. And you know what's funny? This is side 1. I think the 5 songs we talked about. So like Hard to Handle kicks off side 2. So imagine listening to this record as an album or a cassette and then thinking like, wow, like what's on side 2? And then you get hit with Hard to Handle. So after you listen to that, you're like, this is just ridiculous. Right? Like it really is.
It's got to go downhill from here. There's no way
but it doesn't.
That Thick and Thin could be a good song. Wrong.
Amazing.
Freaking what a tune.
Yeah.
Thick and Thin. Like just, oh man, blues, just soul, there's so much good from these guys.
I was lucky enough to have Black Crowes drummer Steve Gorman on the show, on the No Sleep Till December show.
Nice.
He told me that the car crash that you hear at the beginning of Thick and Thin, you hear the tires squeal and then you hear the car crash. That's a real crash. They did that outside the studio. That's a real car hitting a real wall.
Super cool. That's like Andrew WK. You know Andrew WK?
Yeah.
Yeah. So his cover of his album is him with a bloody face. Mm-hmm. He smashed himself in the face with a brick to get the bloody nose.
Why?
So it's real.
Like, why?
Oh, he's a nut. He's a nut. Great music. Like that is like that is part of a soundtrack of like my high school years. Party Hard. She Is Beautiful. Oh yeah. That was part of stuff that I would put on burned to CDs for sure.
See, I remember when that came out, and I remember seeing his picture on the record and just thinking, like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
I didn't get it. Yep. And that was when I realized, like, music, this is not for me at all. I think I was like 32 when that came out. Right. And I just thought, I don't get this. I don't understand it. But it was for you.
Oh yeah, totally.
It was for it was for the kid who got a computer when he was 9.
I don't even know if it was when I was 9. That's just right where I wrote. But it doesn't matter, okay? I know we were one of the last ones to get a computer in my group of friends. It doesn't matter. Thick and Thin, just such a good song.
It is.
Just so good.
And what comes after that?
She Talks to Angels.
Indeed.
Oh my God.
This, like...
Gosh. Goodness.
The zenith of this record.
So these guys are also big... I think they're big into Guns N' Roses as well. It was all obviously leading up to it as well. And
are you joking?
Well, they were listening to them, that's for sure. Maybe not big fans, but they do cite Patience as a song that
really
they do.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and obviously they also say this is more of like their Wild Horses. This is what Wild Horses what they were thinking about when they recorded or wrote this song. But I could definitely feel I felt Patience, like sort of that style coming from this song.
Yeah. That kind of area is what I would say. And again, Patience is a song that these other fucking knuckleheads were trying to pull off. When you heard all these like hard rock torch songs, right? Of you know, and there was always a power chord that came in, and it was just most of them were silly. But Patience was the first song where the band really got away with it. And you thought, okay, now they're legitimate. Like there is a direct line between Guns N' Roses and the Rolling Stones, or Guns N' Roses and Aerosmith, right? Where a lot of bands of their ilk, there wasn't. They wanted you to think there was, but it wasn't there. It wasn't real. This song, She Talks to Angels, was written by Rich Robinson when he was 17 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's like an alternate tuning. It's not standard. It's some bizarre, I don't even know what it is. I think it's in...
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Like just so nice. You know, and then obviously same goes with, you know, some of the great songs, you know, obviously from Page and Richards as well. Like a lot of their songs, really good ones are, you know, open tuning or, you know, the tuned C tuning or something like that, right? That makes him, just gives him this extra bit of like
open G,
specialty, you know,
specialty.
I don't know. Specialness sounded silly, so just makes him special, man. Like,
you're right. I totally got it. I'm just winding you up, but you're right.
I know you are. I know I'm right. Yeah. See, that's when I know. That's when I know I'm right. When you start winding me up.
Really?
I gotta get this guy. Here we go. Yeah.
That's not true. That's not true. You just give me. Me like a little crack, and then I know.
And blow it wide open.
Open it up.
The way that these guys too put their songs together is so good. Yeah. Like and Stare It Cold is a great, for me, example of that. The way that song goes. I skipped Struttin' Blues. Struttin' Blues is good. That comes, unless that's different on the deluxe album, but really? Struttin' Blues.
Skipper?
No. I just said I skipped over it to Stare It Cold. That's all. No. Oh no, Struttin' Blues is another, like, awesome.
Totally.
Like number 9 slot. Like, definitely not.
No, it's not.
I'd be like, there's no song that could be number 9.
I was going to say, there isn't a number 9 on this record.
It's like the 13th floor, right? You know, if like a building took out the 13th floor,
that's so
you know,
true.
like, you know, that floor 14 is actually 13. Cause I was like, they should have just been song 7, 8, 10, 11.
That is a very cool analogy.
Right.
Honestly, that's so apt in this case.
Yeah.
You're totally right. There is no ninth spot on this record.
For sure.
And people who don't know what we're talking about, like, go back and watch, you know,
Seriously.
all the episodes.
Yeah. Everything start at 1.
Start at 1 and work way forward.
Start at 1. Yeah. We're not that far.
Yeah, you'll know what we mean by track 9. Do you know about the hidden track on this record?
Is it Mercy Sweet Moan?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of a cool little like acoustic sort of.
It's just like
it feels like very Stonesy.
Oh yeah, it's just like 4 a.m, somebody press record kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, you know, they used to call this stuff blues, and by that I mean BLOOZE. So yeah, and that was this whole, you know, the blues played with, you know, it was alcohol infused, right? And these 80s bands, going back to them, like really kind of emphasized the alcohol on this. I mean, but the Crows just had that perfect blend of, you know, booze in blues. And it was just so vibey, and you just felt it, you know, you can feel it.
This is all a ton of fun to listen to. Like I said, Stare It Cold for me. Stare It Cold is the best song for me on the album. It's a great album, but number 10. What a first album for a band to come out with. That's like, we said that a couple times. Obviously Zeppelin, Van Halen. Fantastic.
Yeah.
You know,
so
debuts.
Underrated.
Yeah, this was an amazing debut album.
So this begs the question, Alex Huard, do you want to go further into the catalog?
Let's do it, man.
The record's called Amorica.
Amorica.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I loved it. I love it, man. Let's do it. Okay, we'll do another week of the Black Crows. This is great. I feel like a completely new person. I feel like I'm even like more inspired musically to like sit down and like play again. I don't play a whole lot, but like listening to these riffs, you're just like,
right.
I want to play the guitar. Like, I want to try and sing Under the Weather. Never felt better.
You're holding back on me.
And I mean, you know,
You're holding out on me. See, you wanted to do that.
I told you.
Or you just waiting until the end of the show.
Well, that's the whole point. Songs at the end, singing's at the end. So good.
I'm glad I waited.
So good. Cheers, man. Thanks. Loved it.
Cheers.
Amorica.
Cheers to
Cheers
you.
to Amorica.
And those like you. And Amorica too.
All right, man. Stay safe out there. Weather's shit.
I know, it's garbage.